Out of the gates and ready to go. Hot Mic with Hutton Withrow underway. The Thursday edition has arrived. The weekend is here, Chad Withrow.
The weekend, and not Ariel Tesfaye, the weekend. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Well done.
The actual weekend's here.
You nailed it.
The actual weekend is here.
Armando Salguero joins us from OutKick.com. That's coming up later this hour. Plus, Che Mock from ESQ Agency, sports agent, in studio with us to talk all things big business for where the NCAA is headed. And we jump right into that in just a moment. Chad, how about this? In fact, yes, a former head coach did land the Washington Commanders head coaching job.
Just not the one anyone expected.
Exactly. Dan Quinn is the new head coach of the Washington Commanders. Former, of course, Cowboys defensive coordinator, former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. 28-3 is going to be brought up quite a bit, I'm sure. Here he is getting a second opportunity, and he took his time. The last 2 years, he has interviewed with the Bears, the Vikings, the Dolphins, the Cardinals, the Colts, and the Broncos, and either removed his name from consideration or they went in a different direction. He was patient, and he could have gone back to be with Dallas as their defensive coordinator again after not landing, we all assume, the Seattle Seahawks job. They go with Mike McDonald, the younger defensive version of Dan Quinn, and now all the jobs are filled, and it's not Mike Vrabel, and it's not Bill Belichick. They went with the older coach here, older in quotation marks. I think the guy's like maybe 55 years old, Dan Quinn. But I would have assumed, Chad, if you were telling me Commanders are going with a former head coach, that it would have been one of those two, Belichick or Vrabel, or for that matter, Harbaugh. And they don't get any of the three. They choose to go a different direction with at least two of them. And Dan Quinn's the final head coach of the carousel that was 2023-24.
There were truly three celebrity head coach candidates in this bunch. Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel.
Yep.
Those are the three guys. Vrabel, a star as a player. Everyone knew him as a player. 6 years with the Titans, did some good things, got that organization to an AFC championship game. And then, of course, Bill Belichick, possibly the GOAT. 7-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots. Nope and nope. That's what the NFL said about both those guys this go-around. Jim Harbaugh is the one celebrity coach to land a gig. I'm shocked.
Me too.
I'm surprised. I would have been surprised had one not gotten a job. I am utterly shocked that two of those guys, in Vrabel and Belichick, did not land an NFL job. The only thing more shocking would have been if all three struck out or if Harbaugh decided to remain at Michigan and then the NFL didn't get any of those three. But I'm really surprised. Vrabel especially
I agree with
did
you.
not get a job. It's crazy to think about.
Look at the old coaches, new coaches, the incumbents, and where they stand now. You see that the carryovers with Antonio Pierce as the interim coach in Las Vegas. But beyond that, I mean, some of the names here are surprising to me just on a surface level with how young teams are going. And you know what? In a weird way, props to some of these owners who decided not to go with a repackaged version of a coach and instead went with a younger, more in tune, I would say, with today's NFL player / where the direction of the NFL is headed type of head coach. Nobody knows that these guys are going to be any good. Vast majority of them will not. Vrabel was the last coach to be fired from his coaching crop of 2018. That doesn't last very long. Not everyone's Andy Reid here. But in this case, Dan Quinn gets a second opportunity, and he took his time. And I think of Ben Johnson in this way. He's opting to go back to Detroit as the offensive coordinator for a second consecutive season now. And he's saying, hey, I'll take my time and wait. Not everything always works out perfectly for you. But in Quinn's case, he was able to select and choose. And I'm really surprised that Josh Harris, and the ownership group there, along with what the assets that they have to use in Washington, didn't garner more attention from coaches this go-around. More of that with Armando Salguero. Chad, the attention in the sports landscape is on college football, specifically with the NCAA, and the crosshairs that they're in with the state of Tennessee, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and all of the different statements that are being released in regards to the fact that, well, the NCAA is trying to retroactively come in, change the goalposts swap them up, and try to figure out how they can find violations with name, image, likeness. Tennessee Athletic Director Danny White released a statement today, among the many statements we've seen over the last 24 hours, emphasizing in bold font, first sentence, that the NCAA generally doesn't comment on infraction cases, which they did on Wednesday, because there's a rule against it. And it hasn't stopped them in the past from commenting on cases or leaking information to the media, and then they want to move the goalposts on what they want the investigation to uncover. And we will dive into the details of his statement coming up, but it was scathing, it was blunt, it was direct, and he ends it by saying the coaches, the administrators, the athletes, they deserve better, and I'll throw in the fans into the mix here as well. The NCAA wants us to think that where college football is headed is the death of the sport that we love. And it's not about where college football is headed. It's about where we are. And the NCAA, to me, looks like the Pac-12 right now. Mismanaged, and they're on death's door. And this is where the power conferences decide the NCAA's fate, really. The fate of the governing body as we know it or see it right now. Because right now, the chain of command is being mocked. Member institutions are daring the authority to penalize them, threatening lawsuits if they do. And now you have state governments that are either threatening to file a lawsuit if a state receives a bowl ban, or states are filing antitrust suits based on the Sherman Act. They're paying millions to coaches. Billions are being brought in through broadcast rights. And those figures matter because they're trying to shout from the rafters that name, image, likeness and collectives are leaking just boatloads of money that is sinking your favorite sport. And keep in mind, the NCAA generated a revenue of $1.2 billion as recent as 2022. In 2019, the NCAA released information that told us D1 programs committed $3.7 billion to coaches' compensation. 40% of the budget went to salaries for coaches or administrators. 9% on average went to college funding for the athlete. This is corporate America in a nutshell right here, except when it comes to the athletes on the field who produce the product and bring in the cash flow. Name, image, likeness is not a billion-dollar entity. How many times have we had Shannon Terry on here from On3? It's not what they make it out to be. It's not close. And Charlie Baker is tasked with keeping it that way. That's what he's not saying. That's what no one's standing up and yelling. They want to keep it exactly where it is. In a nutshell, this is what I think the NCAA wants to cut off. In 2007, the SEC distributed $10 million to each member school through the media right contract that they had with CBS. Next season, they'll distribute an estimated $57 million to each program. The Big Ten, they're going to earn an estimated $73 million in media deals this year. By 2029, the projection is the SEC is expected to have a program payout of over $100 million. Same for the Big Ten. And now you consider 2007, $10 million, and we're up to over $100 million in 2030. But I would say from 2007 to 2024, not much has changed with the athlete payouts. And that's what the NCAA and Charlie Baker wants to continue to happen. The NCAA wants to lock in this percentage of revenue and keep the distribution where it is. And the revenue is going to continue to go up. And they're going to point to the smaller conferences saying that they want to help the helpless. But even Directional School U is paying a coach to not coach right now. I guarantee you. And then look at these administrator jobs, Chad. I was doing this morning. I just picked Georgia for no other reason than trying to pick a school that would have your run-of-the-mill, everyone has it type of administrators. This is their athletic department and what it's made of job-wise. And then add up the money spent on these roles. They have the director of athletics. They have the deputy director for legal and regulatory affairs. They have the deputy director of finance. And it continues down the page where you have, the executive associate athletic director for strategic communications, sports medicine, I'm just keep going, compliance, internal operations, communications, academics and eligibility, major gifts, academics, major gifts and premium seating. You have academics and eligibility for the business operations side of things, the event management. You have facilities and capital project management as an associate athletic director. You have the annual giving and ticket operations. Chad once applied for that, I believe. They went with someone else. They went with the Bulldog instead of a Vol.
Much more qualified candidate they went with.
Chad, they have the fan engagement and licensing athletic director. They have, yes, even the assistant athletic director for inclusive excellence and strategic engagement. And this is the norm. This is the bar that you have to meet if you want to compete in this business. And the NCAA wants to stay in business of controlling the billions. They want your donations funneled through their department, not through a collective. They being the NCAA, because individual schools, they've got smart. They were allowed to because the NCAA took a step back. They figured out how to make collectives work for everyone. And trust me, everyone is getting a piece of the pie, except for the NCAA. And that's why this is a battle that they cannot lose. It's why they need Capitol Hill to save the organization from drastically changing course on how they do business and how they conduct business and who they do business with. Larry Scott buried the Pac-12. Idiot. The NCAA has their own Larry Scott. His name's Mark Emmert. It's now on Charlie Baker, who should turn to his executive down the hall for maybe strategic engagement. Maybe it's strategic planning. Maybe it's major gifts. Maybe it's communications, business operations. Come up with a message and a plan, and how about this word, a compromise? Because what he's doing right now is not working, and it's burning. And they're being mocked, they're being laughed at, and people are calling it the last stand. I'm one of them. Because as they sit back and wait, everyone else is moving forward, and they don't care what happens to them because the NCAA doesn't have any power.
Bravo, Hutton. Bravo. Well said.
I do think
spot on.
Danny White said it
with
better
the state
today,
of it. Danny White said it well. You mentioned all those positions at the University of Georgia. One of those positions is president of the University of Georgia, Jer Moorhead, who also happens to serve on the governance committee for the NCAA. Also, a woman from Baylor University serves on that. I'd love to talk to Georgia and Baylor and find out if what the NCAA is doing right now with NIL collectives is really what they all want. Because that is the NCAA's fallback every time. Guys, you all serve under the freedom and you're warm under the blanket of freedom we provide for you, and then you question the manner in which we provide it. We're just doing a service here that you all asked for. Guys, we're doing what you asked. This is what you want. Is that what Georgia wants? Does Georgia want the NCAA coming down to Athens and looking into their NIL deals with players? Do we think they're not paying players in NIL at Georgia? Is that what Baylor wants? Is this really what your leadership wants? Or are you going rogue to try to get your own pound of flesh? That's my question to the NCAA. And Danny White's got a lot of questions to the NCAA also. Hutton brought it up. He had a scathing statement that he released today. Big part of this, let's go to the part about possible NCAA infractions.
Yes.
This is the one I'm going to highlight in bold print. It is clear that the NCAA staff does not understand what is happening at the campus level all over the country in the NIL space. After reviewing thousands of Tennessee coach and personnel phone records, NCAA investigators did not find a single NIL violation. So they moved the goalpost to fit a predetermined outcome. They are stating that the nebulous, contradictory NIL guidelines written by the NCAA and not the membership, not the president from Georgia, not the vice president from Baylor, not the leadership council, the NCAA employees themselves, saying that it doesn't matter. And they're applying the old booster bylaws now to collectives. They're moving the goalpost, as Danny White says. I said it when this story first broke. They're trying to nab an NIL collective. And Spire Sports is one of the more famous ones. They want Tennessee to disassociate from Spire so they can show victory in some way. They can show their teeth again. They can be powerful again. It's not going to happen. And the response from Donde Plowman at Tennessee and now Danny White, their athletic director, shows you there's not a chance in hell it's going to happen. And the fact that he puts here in bold print, great work, by the way, by the legal team in charge of this at Tennessee and with the coaches at Tennessee. They went through thousands of coach and personnel phone records and text messages. Did not find one single NIL violation. So now it's, hey, Tennessee's under investigation. By the way, whoever tipped off Pat Forty, which Danny White is saying was in fact the NCAA, he opens with that. You don't talk about investigations, yet you leaked it to Pat Forty and others. When Pat Forty writes in there, oh, Tennessee across multiple sports, double jeopardy, double offender, they're going to get hammered by the NCAA. Over what? Thousands of documents have been reviewed. They told Tennessee they don't have a single bit of evidence about anyone at Tennessee. People, wake up. They want to end an NIL collective. They want to affect someone's business. That's what they're doing right now. And all they're doing in return is affecting their own business. Because now all the guns are pointed at the NCAA. They have united America against them. They thought they'd get support in this. They're not. NIL collectives, they're banding together. Schools are banding together. Athletic directors will. Coaches will. And it all goes back to, Hutton talked about the inevitable ruination of the sport. Well, the ruination of the sport is not because of the product, and it's not because of players getting paid. The ruination of the sport is the NCAA's inability to come up with a set of guidelines that coaches and administrations can follow and be comfortable with, understanding and knowing players are going to make whatever they're worth in the open market. We have to start with that. They're going to get paid. We have to be out in the open about that. Now, what's a fair way to legislate it? That's what all these schools want. That's what all these coaches want. It's going to make their job easier. All the NCAA is doing, Hutton, is making everyone's job more difficult, including their own job is being made more difficult now.
Well, I think they see what's on the horizon, and that's why everyone's banding together on the flip side of this, because they also see what's on the horizon with this. It comes down to simply they're going to need federal legislation. They're going to need an exemption of antitrust law in order to pass and get through what they're trying to forge ahead with retroactively trying to go and punish. I mean, this is, you've got Danny White speaking on behalf of the University of Tennessee. He's speaking on behalf of anyone across the country with name, image, likeness, and how they've gone about this over the last 3 years. I mean, this is 100% everyone's in violation if they're going to point to a collective and say, and that was my theory when it first dropped was, hey, they're going at one of the collectives that's a part of this alliance where they have over 30 collectives that have joined forces to try to unify and structure things properly. And they're trying to end that by saying, oh, we're going to affect the university, we're going to affect the program who benefited from said collective who then paid the player. But this all goes back to they have to keep their head above water, and right now they're trying a last-ditch effort to have a win. And they went against a program that had cooperated with them after a public joke of a season where they go back and forth with Michigan, and on the way out, Jim Harbaugh, while just soaked in Gatorade and hoisting the trophy, says, "I proclaim innocence," and then takes the job with the Los Angeles Chargers. And by the way, your national champion are the Michigan Wolverines. Don't get it twisted. And the NCAA allowed it to happen. And by the way, Charlie Baker said fair and square. Did he not? Charlie Baker said Michigan fair and square.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's unbelievable, the lack of any self-awareness here by everyone. And Pat Forty's initial story, too, the lack of self-awareness of how that was going to be received. I think everybody banks on, in college sports, if someone's in trouble, everyone that's not a fan of that school is going to band together against them and make fun of them. And this is one where everyone now, and I give college sports fans credit for this, everyone now is smart enough to know we're all doing it. Everybody's doing it. It's a reality of sport. We're not going to make fun of one school for paying more or for being in the NCAA crosshairs. Also, no one cares about the NCAA crosshairs. This post right now, this tweet from Clay Travis, just now, I hate the NCAA and love Tennessee. The Tennessee Vol Collective currently has 3,800 members. If you guys take it to 5,000 members, I'll personally donate $100,000 to the Vol Collective. This is just an example of how you are going to unite everyone against you. And that pathetic, half-witted statement you put out yesterday in response to all this of we're just doing we're cutting edge and trying to help the student athlete on NIL. We want to be out in front of this. We're just doing what the membership wants and enforcing rules. BS. And Donde Plowman's statement, Then you had that one. You had that one in response to a lawsuit for antitrust violations filed by the states of Tennessee and Virginia.
Right.
Then you come out with that half-ass statement, and then Danny White completely murders you with his statement after that. This is going so poorly for the NCAA. I seriously half expect Nick Saban to be the czar of college football by Valentine's Day.
I wish it was Valentine's Day.
We may get a big-time Valentine's Day gift. Instead of chocolates, we get Nick Saban as czar of the new college football that is not run by the NCAA. That's how quickly this is spiraling out of control for the NCAA.
And coaches, by the way, are like Nick Saban, are bailing. He's retiring. You've got Jeff Hafley, who's
taking a coordinator job
in the NFL. Defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, is the former head coach for the last 4 seasons at Boston College. And, part of the main reason why he's doing it isn't because, his dream is to be in the NFL. He has NFL experience, college experience. It's because of coaches can't coach anymore. Name, image, likeness, fundraising, recruiting, and not just recruiting your own roster on a daily basis because of the portal. It's a burnout factor where coaches can't actually do what they want to do, which is coach ball. And instead, they're doing all the background and the minutia of NIL, fundraising, recruiting, because there are no guidelines. And the member schools, the member administrators, the coaches, they did ask for regulation. 2 years ago is whenever they were clamoring. Hell, Lane Kiffin continues to ask for it.
Yeah.
And he's one of the Ole Miss, Grove Collective, and the Aspire, they're teaming up and they're running the revolution.
Yeah, today,
the alliance.
Hunter Bador of Spire and Walker Jones of Grove Collective were named the chair and vice chair of the new Collectives Association.
Yeah.
That's 32 collectives across college sports.
And both would say, we're all for regulation. And Walker Jones came on the show and said that.
Yeah.
It said that in front of the politicians on Capitol Hill, same day that Charlie Baker was there, where Baker and Walker, I believe, exchanged barbs there. Say we're all for regulation, but we want some compromise here. There's not going to be, we're not just going to have a exemption for antitrust all of a sudden and save you. Because, again, it goes back to the billions and how the percentage is distributed. We're headed towards a players' union, and that's where the collectives will also come in. But, Chad, this is – you see right through this. This is not about some measly violation because of a private jet.
No.
This goes to the
They want a pound of flesh. They want to get a collective.
Well, but they need more than what they've done.
They're not going to do anything. That's why everybody's laughing at them right now. They're trying to do this in hopes that Tennessee, being the good little boy they were before,
right,
with a pat on the belly, was going to turn everything over. But what they don't realize is Tennessee in part did that because they wanted to fire their coach for cause. And this gave them an out to do it, and they got to play cooperative witness with the NCAA. They're not going to do it on this one. They're just not. And Tennessee's in the right, and NCAA is in the wrong on this issue. So they're going to fail miserably. Getting back to the coaches bolting for the NFL thing.
Yep.
Jeff Hafley going to the Green Bay Packers as defensive coordinator. He was the head coach at Boston College. I don't know that this is a bad move for the coach at Boston College at any point in time. When we start to see the big-time head coach that leaves for a coordinator position in the NFL or a position coach deal in the NFL, that's when alarm bells are really going to go off and say, man, it must be bad if ex-coach at this Power 5 school that's been a power has bolted for the NFL. I'm not talking about Jim Harbaugh, who wanted to get back in the NFL the last 3 years. He's been wanting to get back to the NFL the whole time. Now's the perfect time, post-national title at his alma mater, and also in the midst of this, whatever's going on with the Connor Stallions investigation. But there definitely is a sense that coaches want to coach ball, and because there's so much confusion right now, and because there's so much constant concern about your own team being poached and leaving, they want to go somewhere where they know who their guys are for the most part, they know how the system works, and they get to coach football. So we'll start to see more of this, but we haven't seen this mass exodus yet of guys leaving for demotions to go to the NFL.
We've seen good coaches leave college basketball. Now they're not taking NBA jobs.
Yeah, they're retiring.
Yeah, but it's a good time to get out early, though. Yeah, because I think they don't want to be a part of it. I think it certainly led to Saban doing some of these things.
Yeah, look, I think Jay Wright retired early, and he said in large part because of the landscape of it. I think high-paying jobs are going to be high-paying jobs, and guys are going to want those jobs. And these are still good jobs.
Hafley's making $4 million a year at Boston College.
That surprises me.
He had 2 years left on that deal.
Well,
I'm surprised by that. Because a coordinator in the NFL, you're making 7 figures, but it's not that.
It's
head coaches that are making that. Remember the Mike Vrabel
although $1 million in Green Bay may go further than $4 million in
that's
Boston.
true. Get some real estate there. Vrabel's salary versus anybody that we were comparing to.
Yeah, I think what Herb Street is saying about this, and then what Jeff Hafley's saying by doing this. I mean, if all the reports to Pete Thamel are correct about a source saying he just wants to coach ball and wants to get away, it makes total sense for him to do this. It's not a huge step down to go from Boston College head coach to Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator is my only point. When we start to see the major coaches, and all due respect to Jeff Hafley, not a major coach, Boston College, not a major.
More likely to get a raise or get fired.
FBS program.
Right.
Yeah, when Dabo Swinney leaves Clemson to go be the wide receivers coach for the Carolina Panthers, then I'm going to say, wow, this is a real big issue. This guy's leaving that much money on the table to go and do that.
If he just chooses not to coach, though.
Or just retires.
That's the same thing.
And he says simply because of that. Then you got more of an issue. But the issue can be stopped. It's not about players getting money and getting paid.
Right.
Because I think so many people see that and say, well, Herb Street's right. Because players are getting paid, coaches don't want to be around them anymore. That's not the truth. It's the lack of stability. It's the lack of rules. It's the lack of guidelines for anything. That's why they don't want to be a part of it right now.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. Trying to recruit your own roster every day. It's maddening. And knowing that
it's why I no longer look at a class next to someone in college sports.
But also,
you're just there right now, and that's all I know.
That coach complaining is also recruiting someone else's roster too, through their staff, through their collective, right? So it's everyone's doing it because everyone can, and everyone does it because you have to if you want to win, because you're going to have to replenish. You have to reload, and you have to do that because the rich get richer.
Yeah, now I will say this too for the current college sports setup, which is a total joke, and this benefits the coaches. The buyout makes it where I'm thinking, okay, what real pressure do you have? Like, you get fired if you've got the contract, and you're going to get paid.
Right.
So I don't.
Well, I think most of these guys
I get it.
enjoy coaching.
I would not. It's a total headache I would not want to deal with. I'm not saying they have an easy job or it's fun or any of that. But my point is, I just can't. The pressure of if I lose my linebacker and this guy, then I might get fired. And I'm thinking the system is rigged to a point where you get paid millions to fail to get fired. So am I going to sit here and cry over you getting fired and getting paid to leave because you couldn't navigate the murky waters of NIL as well as the coach next door? That doesn't tug at my heartstrings. Like a Sarah McLachlan song.
Let's just dumb it down to the student athlete, okay? No one's getting paid here, Chad. What's the worst that could happen if you are a terrible softball coach? But they're going to be asked to leave.
I get fired by my parents.
There's no pressure there.
Yeah.
But you want to win.
Well, of course I want to win, but I'm saying this whole
everyone wants to win.
I'm gonna leave because I have to worry about all this stuff all the time, and it's just not. You got to worry about winning and losing in the NFL if you go and coach there.
Well, they're able to leave.
You worry about winning and losing coaching in high school or anywhere else.
Guys, we're talking about the 1% coaches, though. The guys who are really the longevity has allowed them to just step aside.
Right.
Because they've been paid. They're not going to get fired.
My point is, I can only cry so much for someone making $5 to $10 million a year.
Of course. But
that's going to make more than that to fail and get fired.
No doubt. But they're in a system with billions being bargained and discussed right now. The buyouts are crazy. But when you look at the bottom line of what the NCAA is doing and the money that they bring in, they can cry poor all they want to. They're not poor.
Well, look, I think ultimately the fear is that you are perceived to be a failure because you got fired. There's no financial fear anymore for college head coaches.
No.
They're set. Once you make it to that level, you're set. And then if you suck, you get fired, you get paid a bunch of money to leave, and you get to go coach and be a coordinator or position coach and make really good money for another program, and you're set once you reach that point. So that's my greater point.
Well, the top 25 paid coaches right now in the Power 5 they make at least $6 million or more. At least.
Wish they paid that in softball coaching.
Yeah. $6.
Need to get some of that.
Hot dog.
Need to get some of that money.
Hot dog. How much?
I just pay. It's costing me money to coach the softball team.
How much money would you put on a proposal of Kelsey and Taylor Swift after the Super Bowl? I mentioned this last week.
Hutton is obsessed with this idea that he's going to propose post game.
Yeah, I'm not obsessed with it. I'm just saying we mentioned it a week before they put a line out for it in Vegas.
You're setting the line. You're the line maker
changing
now.
lines here.
They knew you were going to Vegas. They're like, this guy's been saying this for a while.
I mean, this is if you believe in the script writers,
Hutton,
this is right up your alley.
If you nail this and it happens, you never have to say anything ever again. You will forever be the guy that nailed the exact time that he was going to propose to Taylor Swift on the field.
I mean, what better time to do it?
I don't think there's any chance that he thinks to do that after the game, after a win.
I don't know. They're so in
on
love.
The field.
I think that's all he's thinking about.
Would he do it like on the podium? They're doing the post game deal.
Oh no, this will be. They'll have a film crew around, Chad. Let's get it right. NFL Films will be around, gathered with the confetti on the turf.
NFL Films. Pharrell Williams will direct the video on Taylor's behalf.
Rock Nation will be there.
Rock Nation, yeah. Jay-Z, Beyonce's video crew that shot Lemonade is going to be there.
Jackson Mahomes will be
all
somewhere
the right
in the background.
Filters.
Brittany Mahomes will absolutely
Jackson
make an
Mahomes
appearance.
won't be allowed in Vegas for this trip for that very reason.
I wish.
Will Brittany be the maid of honor? Can we get the odds on that? Brittany Mahomes, matron of honor.
It's so ridiculous.
On behalf of Taylor Swift.
So they're charging $7 million per 30 seconds this year. That's the estimate, or I guess the guess, expectation. At least 3 main companies are advertising just to reach the Taylor Swift audience.
Here's what I do not understand. I cannot comprehend this when it comes to advertisers for the Super Bowl. Why, oh why, do you pay $7 million to run an ad, and then so many of these companies run it before the Super Bowl online? Like, you can go on Saturday and Sunday of the Super Bowl and see, like, the BetMGM ads. So we know what the ad campaign is because they're doing it now with Vince Vaughn and Tom Brady. Yep. And they're going to do something for the Super Bowl. It better be totally different. When they do the Super Bowl should be the unveiling of the ad, not posting it on YouTube.
But now you get it before, during, and after. Everyone's talking about the rankings.
I like the
and
concept
of 20 million people. How many people are actually seeing it before the game?
I like the concept of 30-second ad teases you to go to the website and see the rest, or go to YouTube and see the rest.
To push you there.
But I'm just looking at bang for my buck. I'm posting on YouTube for people to watch right after it runs for the $7 million I spent for it to run.
I don't know. You're spending $7 million. Imagine being laid off from a company that then turns around and spends $7 million on a 30-second ad.
Yeah, I bet all those people that got laid off at ESPN are going to be mad when they run their 30-second spot.
Yeah.
On CBS during this game. Is it on? No, CBS. Yeah, CBS has it this year, right?
CBS. Yeah. Romo's got it.
It's the Romo game.
Tony Romo. Everyone's going to hate Romo. Okay. This Devine Providence.
Everyone's going to be mad at Pat McAfee when they run that spot for ESPN and blame him. He probably had something to do with it.
That's right. Okay, let's dive into this. So you have Devine Providence is this fan-created documentary on Providence.
The Providence Friars, basketball program.
And you have now Jeff Goodman in the middle of this with this YouTube content creator. Devine Providence, the name of this. Blue Demon Deegan, I believe, is the username. And
which is short for the Blue Demon Degenerate.
Okay. The person who made the documentary had over 70,000 views on YouTube before the platform removed the video for copyright violations. And the user revealed that the alleged legal threats that he received from basketball insider Jeff Goodman with the Field of 68 now posted these DMs. And this guy operated a social media account and a YouTube channel called the Big East Films. And the project that he was doing, I guess his goal was to have a documentary and produce a documentary on the conference's 11 basketball programs.
Yep.
And this was the first one. And it focused on Ed Cooley and his rise to being the head coach at Providence, and then his eventual departure where he left for rival Georgetown. So earlier this week, this account was suspended due to copyright issues on YouTube. And now Blue Demon Deegan, the username, who's anonymous, posted screenshots of Goodman threatening legal action, why it's unclear. I don't know why it's unclear exactly what Goodman's intentions are here, because John Fanta, also the Field of 68, friend of the show, he's a part of this Providence documentary. He's featured in this. Ed Cooley, meanwhile, is accused of having an affair in this. And you have other platforms that are you're still able to go and watch Devine Providence, like Rumble, where Dave Portnoy is pushing viewership. But Goodman,
well, he's telling them to go to Rumble. Barstool now has an affiliation with Rumble,
and he's since retweeted.
So he's saying go there so we can all watch it. I don't know if they posted it.
Yeah, because I saw the story that Davey sent. He retweeted another one that said this is where you go to watch the documentary that Ed Cooley and Jeff Goodman don't want you to see.
I want to watch this thing.
I guess. I mean,
I don't have a Rumble account. Do I need an account to go to Rumble, or can I just Rumble?
I don't think so. We were on Rumble at one point.
Can we just Rumble?
The show was on Rumble.
I'm saying, can we just Rumble? Like, I don't need to log in or anything. I just go and watch it.
We didn't. I don't know.
Find it.
Probably now.
I'm gonna watch this thing.
now.
I'm gonna bookmark this bad boy.
Yeah. So
I love that our guy Fanta is a part of this.
I know. Well,
and he's pissing off Jeff Goodman.
I would
his
have
colleague,
Fanta a part
apparently.
of this too. I don't know if Fanta is pissing him off. I don't know what it is that's pissing off Goodman, other than maybe it's based on the accusations made at Cooley. I don't know.
It sounds to me like Jeff Goodman is Cooley's muscle. I think he's protecting his guy, Ed Cooley, and mad about this because he has some sort of relationship with him, and he left for Georgetown. Obviously, Providence people are mad. Just going back to the start of this whole story, anonymous Twitter accounts producing documentaries and not giving their actual identity, I'm opposed to this. We once in Radio Past had an interview with a guy that went by Eklund, and that wasn't his name, and he's a hockey blogger, and he showed up in Nashville to a big event, and he wore a mask like Wilson from Home Improvement that covered half his face. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. He was protecting his identity like he was on Unsolved Mysteries, or he was giving a Dateline NBC confessional and changing his voice. It was so strange. So Blue Demon Degenerate, give us your real name. I mean, you're smart enough to put together an 11-part docuseries, then you can tell us your damn name also. I don't like that. I also don't like Jeff Goodman saying that a guy's going to look great in orange in his prison jumpsuit because of a documentary about Providence basketball with no knowledge as to why he's so angry and no mention of Jeff Goodman in it. Why? How is this Jeff Goodman's fight to fight?
We only know the screenshots portion of this. I don't know if Goodman told him why.
Well, Goodman's on that Field of 68 every night.
I know.
I hope someone asks him about it or he talks about it at some point.
I know. I'm saying, like, we only know what this degenerate guy on YouTube is posting, like the screenshots from that. I don't know. It's confusing. The copyright violations of whatever this guy's using.
I'm all into this story, though. I'm going to continue to monitor it. I want to know what's going on.
And take your content elsewhere that's going to allow you to post it there. To me, it's not that difficult to figure out. Post it where it's not going to be censored, where you don't have to censor yourself.
Well, they gave copyright violations is why it was taken down, right? And I mean,
this is the only platform, though, that based on this story, that YouTube is the only one that did this.
He's clearly not overly concerned about. Maybe it's a she. I don't know. Blue Demon Degenerate, the anonymous account. They apparently are not too worried about being sued because they're going to post the other 10.
Right.
Said there's 10 more to go. They just can't watch this one now because of what we said about Ed Cooley.
What if this is better than Untold?
Hey, it got 70,000 people watching it in a pretty short amount of time.
I know. I mean, what if this is
Who
better than Netflix?
doesn't want to watch
Untold?
this thing now? This is great
Can
promotion
they Can they go produce the documentary that we wanted to see on Swamp Kings?
Please do. It sounds like Blue Demon Degenerate's the one that hits hard.
Yeah. Steve Spurrier threatening lawsuits.
The Scorsese of documentary online films.
Spurrier coming out on behalf of Urban Meyer.
I think in part 11, Blue Demon Degenerate, they should reveal themselves to who it is. That just goes to credit. Post-credit scene is Blue Demon Degenerate on camera explaining who they are.
Rick Pitino.
That'd be great.
Coming up,
Chris Mullen.
Armando Salguero joins us. We get the latest on, well, it seems like no one wanted the Washington job. Is it just me? I actually thought it was a great gig. I don't really feel that way anymore after they hired Dan Quinn.
Dan Snyder so
And Ben-
tarnished the name of that
Ben
organization.
Johnson turned them down.
It can never recover, apparently.